Welcome to another episode of Keep It Movin. I am Von Wilson, founder and creator of the podcast, also creator of Instagram. You can find me there. You can find me on TikTok as well under Keep It Moving 6, where you can find some inspirational quotes, something to inspire you through the day, through the month, through the week. So over 400 quotes, you can scroll through there and find something that will inspire you, motivate you to keep it moving. I am here today with Clarissa. We're doing this virtually. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here with us. We had planned for her to be in studio. We thought that that would be really nice. This is a very touchy and serious subject that we're going to be diving into. Clarissa has breast cancer. She was diagnosed July 30th of this year with breast cancer, and we're going to dive into it. She's coming from Tacoma, Washington with us on this, and I thank you, Clarissa, for taking the time out to do this with us, bring some awareness to it. I know we tried to do it in October, but it just didn't align, being that that's breast cancer month. But to do it now is better than not doing it at all. How you doing, Clarissa?
I'm okay.
All right.
I'm okay.
Beautiful,
Mm,
beautiful, beautiful. How's everything going over there? How's your day going? Everything is going pretty good?
Good. I went to church, and I think churches, when you go to church, it's like you always get what you need
Mm-hmm.
out of it. And it
Mm-hmm.
did offer me some clarity on a few questions, like internal struggle I was having. So I,
Okay.
it's good. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Recently is like some internal struggles you were having recently with the illness or just life in period?
Just, when you do get diagnosed, it like with any kind of cancer, it changes like your outlook on life. And I think initially you want to get some control of it and you want it like you start running the statistics in your mind continuously. And what
Mm-hmm.
are your chances of when you take this treatment or if you choose this treatment or if you even refuse a treatment? And I was just so stressed out about making the right decision because I have two kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you have, and I have a lot of faith, especially now. I think when you go to church, it's just a source of comfort, but it's also guidance,
Mm-hmm.
because it helps provide some clarity when you really just don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
It helps make a decision.
Yeah.
So I have, yeah.
Yeah. Take us back to that day when you found out that you had breast cancer, you were diagnosed with it. What brought about the discovery? Was it something, a routine, uh, physical, annual mammogram check, or was something happening with you as far as your body that you needed to go to the doctor and get that checked out and you found out? What was going on that day? What happened?
Well, okay, to start out with, it was my boyfriend, that found the tumor. And I didn't really take it seriously at first because I didn't know my dad. I didn't know my father's side of the family, and there was no history of breast cancer on my mom's side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
There was, though, a history of lipomas, and the lipomas are not cancerous. They can turn cancerous, but they're not, or anything can mutate.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a talk with my mom, and she
Mm-hmm.
told me that like that history, there were typically non-malignant. So I wasn't really in a hurry to, but my boyfriend, he kept pushing me. So, and I needed one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I went, and of course, I knew something was there. So they
Right.
pushed me to have like they recommended me to have like a follow up where they did a biopsy or they checked my left breast, and then they they came back to me where they were like, you have four lumps in your left breast, and
Mm-hmm.
that was very unsettling to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, I didn't know my father growing up, but in the last couple of years, I had gotten in touch with him. So I'm, it was weird because I actually ended up with my friend's mom for lunch that day. Uh, and she was asking me, she's like, well, what about on your dad's side of the family? Is there a history? And so I was like, oh my God, let me text him and see. And then he told me that his sister had it and that his aunts had it. And I was furious because if I had known all of this, I would have been getting checked early. When it was confirmed, that like immediately I was like, this is cancer. I already know it's cancer. I was hoping and praying that I was wrong, but and then when it was confirmed, I nearly passed out. But then I had the official appointment and they started talking about chemo and radiation, and I was like, hold on, let's like let's talk about other modes of treatment.
Hmm.
And I knew that it was possible for me to have a double mastectomy, so I was like, can we explore that? And you know it
Hmm.
went on from there.
There's a lot to take on here. There's a lot that you had to process. And as you're speaking of it, I'm just putting myself in your position. I'm like, that's pretty heavy to have to deal with all of a sudden to find out all this information. For the people who don't know, what is carcinoma? What is that, another form of cancer? What is that?
Yeah, it's just a form of cancer.
Okay.
And yeah, there's like aggressive and non-aggressive, and it just depends on like when you have cancer, it's even a deeper look at the types of cancer that you
Hmm.
have. Like even with carcinoma, they went in and they like ended up doing a biopsy, of course, of the four tumors, and
Hmm.
then it turned out that I had three different types of cancer in four tumors.
Hmm.
So it can get very like complicated and intricate in the diagnosis.
Hmm. Now, you said you were upset about this when you found out about it, and you probably wouldn't have been upset if you knew about it earlier, and you could have took some preventive measures to prevent you from getting cancer. Why is it that you didn't know about it earlier? What was happening there? What prevented you from knowing earlier?
Um, well, of course, the lack of knowledge. And then it's really hard because at the age of 40, when everybody is getting mammograms, I
Hmm.
had a lot of trauma that was going on,
Hmm.
and it was just a very like complicated time, so that's why I ended up putting it all off. And then
Hmm.
I had to move from the East Coast back to Washington to be closer to my family. And
Hmm.
then of course, things started going downhill again.
Yeah.
So that's just ended up, that's how it went. And then I
Yeah.
actually, I moved in with my boyfriend, and he's amazing. And it was only like just about then, I think at the beginning of 2025, that I ended up like having some stability in my life enough to start like going over, like saying, okay, I need to catch up on this appointment or these exams. I'm usually pretty good about sticking to things, but when you have that kind of trauma and like those kinds of issues going on, the only thing that's important is your mental health. So,
Yeah.
and if you can't keep it straight, you can't deal with the trauma,
Hmm.
honestly, or
What's
get
helping you
through
keep it
it.
straight?
So,
What's helping you keep it straight? How are you staying mentally sharp, keeping it together? How are you
um,
doing that?
so therapy.
Mm.
I have my own, mental health issues. I'm bipolar as well, and that comes with its own challenges. So I have
Hmm.
to make sure that I stay on top of my medication and
Hmm.
um talking talking as much as I can, getting it out like this, trying to like, turn pain into purpose and
Hmm.
do some good with it. And then of
Yeah.
course my faith. When you are backed into a corner like this, like I'm a fighter. When I am backed into a corner, I will grasp onto whatever tools I have to get out
Hmm.
of the situation that I'm in.
Hmm.
And my faith, when it comes down to it, I start like recurring all the trauma, and I'm like, the only reason I've even gotten this far in my life is because of God, and because God has always had my back. So I
Hmm.
had to not question my faith at this time, instead lean into it.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
That's the only thing that's keeping me straight. And my doctors. My doctors, I am so thankful to my team, my oncology team, because they are helping to juggle everything and
Mm-hmm.
make sure that my mental health is okay first and foremost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you speak about your faith, what's your denomination? Are you Christian, Catholic? What is it?
Christian.
You Christian? And how long
Christian.
have you been a
Yeah.
Christian now? How long have you
All
been a
my
Christian?
life.
All your life? Okay.
Yeah, since birth. Yeah, yeah, since birth. Like for some reason, I was baptized by mistake, is the story. And so, I, even when it comes to my faith, I think about that, and I'm like, well, there has to be a purpose. There
Mm-hmm.
does. Like there has to be a reason. If I was baptized by accident, I'm
Mm-hmm.
here for a reason. So,
Yeah, yes, yes. Well, we all are, and it's important to find a purpose. And sometimes the traumatic things that go on in our life through the journey, it just refines and shapens the purpose even more and puts us in a place of knowing that once we realize what our purpose is, that this is what we're supposed to be doing, and then make an extension to help others. And I'm glad that we're getting this opportunity to do this because this is a vast uh, illness, disease. If you is it safe to call it a disease? Cancer is a
yeah,
disease.
I
Is it
say
safe to call
it's
it
a
that?
disease, but yeah, I would say it's a disease. I mean, there is another component to it, obviously,
Hmm.
and I know we're going to talk about that, but I we'll get into that. So for now,
Yeah,
yeah, I'll say it's a disease.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you're learning more and more about it as you're going along. And prior to this, you weren't even delving into the subject of cancer to find out more about it, and you were just as educated as the public was to a degree of knowing that cancer is real, it can happen, but there was no research being done because it hadn't happened to you, it hadn't been so close to home. That happens to a lot of us. And for those who have cancer, patients in the family, people who have beat it, people who are going through it, or maybe even them themselves, they I can imagine that now they're well versed in it to be able to talk about it. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on too, because uh, you were diagnosed, like I said, July 30th, correct?
Yes.
So this is all new to you. What's your scope of knowledge between the 30th and now? How much of it have you learned about cancer and the effects of it and some of the treatments that you can take to have an outcome that's going to be beneficial to you?
Um, a, a lot. I think that only in the last like couple weeks, honestly, with everything that I have going on, have
Hmm.
I honestly been able to process all of it.
Hmm.
And it just left me with a lot of questions at first because there are like there's a lot to consider when you are talking about treatment, and
Hmm.
sometimes when you talk to your doctors, they don't know you completely. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
They don't know, so you have to make sure that you advocate for yourself 100%. For
Hmm.
some people, chemo doesn't work. Like it's not going to work for them, but there are options.
Hmm.
There's a lot of options. And like, I didn't even know that cancer feeds off of sugar in a sense. I had no idea. And so I'm thankful, like I said, for the team that I have because I've learned more about it. And like when it comes to sugar, I don't, it's not necessarily, well, this is what I was told by my physical therapist, is that it's not necessarily that it feeds off of sugar, but sugar, like it's
Triggers
like
it.
cancer has, yeah, it triggers it. And the cancer cells have to fight against the sugar a
Hmm.
lot harder than they would if it wasn't there. And so of course, like I started looking at my drinking habits, and not that I was a heavy drinker, but like I was like, okay, well, I do need to like take that back a lot and remember that perfection, it's always growth over perfection. Like being perfect is not necessary.
Prior to the cancer, were you health conscious? Did you eat pretty well? Did you have physical fitness in your life? And now, do you have to adhere to these things? How much did your diet change, and how much did your physical fitness change? Are you able to do like workouts?
Oh yeah, I can do workouts. Well, again, it's only because of my boyfriend, honestly, because when I met him, that was when I started working out a lot more. He's a gym rat to an extent, and that has an effect on you. And but I had a gastric bypass like almost 7 years ago. So my weight, like my body in general, it allowed me to become more in touch with my body. And because I went through so much to lose all that weight, I am definitely more conscious about what I put into my body.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm able to do exercises. Like my doctors were surprised at like what I was doing and how soon I was able to get up after my surgery and just
Yeah.
keep, going.
How long ago did you have the gastric bypass, and how many?
Like
How heavy were you when you had the surgery?
it was like 7 years ago, I think. I was pushing 300 pounds. Like, but that was after, huh?
I would never think that looking at you.
Yeah, no, there are pictures on my private Instagram where like at the very beginning of it you can see it. Yeah, I was pushing 300 pounds. I gained a ridiculous amount of weight with my kids, and after I had tried to lose it, I realized that I needed some help with it. And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Right.
But again, if I everything God works in mysterious ways. If I wouldn't have made that choice, I don't believe there is any way that I would have been able to battle this and take this
Mhm.
on in a healthy way.
Yeah, yeah. Having excess weight on you and trying to deal with the cancer at the same time, dealing with these two evils, that would have been a bad outcome. What brought about the surgery, the uh, the gastric bypass that you had? What brought that about? Was it that you just said, I'm too heavy, I need to get this done? Was somebody cheering you along to get it done? What was going on? Were you having some things happening with you that were pushing you in the direction where you needed to have that surgery? What was going on when you
I
had it?
had I had sleep apnea, so my ex-husband, he was always scared. Like he's like, I will wake up in the middle of the night and like feel your chest just to make sure you're still alive. But
Hmm.
more importantly, my daughter is special needs,
Hmm.
and I just looked at her one day and I said to myself, if I don't do something, I'm never going to be able to physically be there for her and like be the support I need or she needs. So
Yeah.
that was when I was like, I gotta do something drastic here.
Well, that's good. Being in a healthy space is always good. We talk about the fountain of youth, and the fountain of youth, in my opinion, is having good health, eating right, allowing your stress levels to be low, being a happy person, not being in a place where you're upset, you're depressed, you're allowing life to beat on you so much to where you're unhappy and you're not taking care of yourself. In the event that nothing happens, such as what's happening with you now, but you appear to be in very good spirits. How about the family? How are they handling it?
Well, my grandma she's in her late 90s at this point, and she's lost two husbands to cancer. So at first, it was very triggering for her. Like, she couldn't stop crying at
Yeah.
all. Um, my mom and I have had, a rocky relationship, and it definitely has brought upon a lot for her. Like she's done a lot of like self-reflection, which I'm so proud of her for doing, honestly. And my boyfriend, he's great, but he also had somebody close to him die of brain cancer. So
Mm.
it's all it's emotional. I think that like I had some issues with close friends, and uh, because they do care so much about me, I think they were concerned about my mental health. I had two breakdowns, honestly, after I found out about the two different diagnoses that I had, because it, like I said, it was just a lot to process.
Yeah.
So, I ended up like uh, ruining a couple or I don't want to say ruining, but I want to say having to like have some space, I guess, at this point between some friends, because I was like all the emotion. I I have to worry about myself, you know what I mean, and making the best decisions for myself. And so it's a lot for the people around me. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Like my uncle, one of my uncles, he's always been that like the tough one, I don't want to say the tough one, but the one that just plays around. I look at him and he tries to be strong for me, but I can see it on his face, you know what I mean? Like he just doesn't even know what to do. And then and he wants to be there as much as he can, but he just doesn't know how. And then my other uncle, the one that was like really like had a very intricate part in raising me, he can't even talk to me. And it's taking like a lot of forgiveness and again, you know, God and faith. And of course, my friend's mom, she, you know, her area of specialty was I forget, it's hospice. So
Hmm.
she kind of like offers a different aspect to it. You know, you have to think about where they're coming from and
Yeah.
not just a me thing. You know, you can't
Yeah.
look at it like and be as selfish because you need these people. So you have to, there's a lot of understanding that goes
Right.
into it.
Well, you have a lot of ties there. You know, you have ties with family, you have ties with friends, you have ties with people that you associate with and that are in your life, and they don't want to see anything come to you that's going to harm you. And that's all of us. I put myself in your shoes. If I'm diagnosed with cancer, the people that love me and care about me, it's going to affect them too. Just to get an idea of how they're handling it and what are some of the things that you guys are doing collectively so that you guys can all be in good spirits, because I'm seeing here you appear to be in good spirits from me talking to you prior to this episode. Every time I speak to you, you seem to be in very high spirits, and that's a good thing. I can imagine.
Yeah. The only thing I can do is just know that, well, see, and then there was also two siblings that I found randomly through 23andMe,
Hmm.
and that I have through from my father. So, and one is a sister who's like 10 years younger than me. I was like, oh, you need
Yeah.
to go and get screened like ASAP. And
Hmm.
then my older brother, you know, when we get into the genetic part of it, I was like, bro, it's time. Like you got to start doing some, you got to figure
Hmm.
this out. And so with them it's quite a shock because you know we just found each other, and my brother and I have already developed a great relationship, and my sister
Yeah.
and I too, like she's the best. And so it's just hard because like especially on that side because we literally just found each other, and
Hmm.
now I'm delivering some very important health information to them, and they're just like everybody's mind blown.
You saying that you just found them. What brought about the separation? How did you grow up? Did you grow up with other brothers and sisters, or are you just now finding out that you have brothers and sisters?
I have two sisters from my mother,
Hmm.
and then but I'm the oldest.
Okay.
So um, my mom and my dad had me,
Hmm.
but my dad decided he wasn't going to be around, and
Okay.
nobody could find him. You know, he dipped. Um, but I did always know of my older brother. But when I was younger, you know, technology wasn't what it was today or what it is today. And then I have other siblings that I don't talk to, by the way. But um, I don't know, randomly, like I put my genes on 23andMe at the urging of my mother, actually, because she was like, you're getting to the age where you need to know health concerns. And
Hmm.
I just at the time was aware that when I do something like that, it's going to open me up to other siblings potentially.
Hmm.
So I got like a notice that I had other relatives, and she pops up, and I I was like, that was a shock because the story behind that is a little bit is disturbing. It's not disturbing, but it's sad. My brother, I'm safe to assume that my brother wishes we had because I think he and I could have had a lot of fun together.
Hmm.
But you know, it was the 80s. That
Yeah.
generation didn't realize that the decisions that they were making were going to affect or how they were going to affect us in the future,
Hmm.
or that they'd get caught in a sense. Like, I hate to say it like that, but that is kind of what's happening these days.
Mhm.
Um, People are finding long lost siblings, and nobody had an idea that technology would get here. So that, just a sense of like connection. I wanted to know. I've always wanted to know who my brother was and where he was at, and then finding my sister was just a bonus.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that connection.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good thing that you guys are able to utilize technology in that way to bring about things that are going to be an asset and a benefit to you, such as family, and to work from there in the aspect of being a healthier person and dealing with illnesses and issues that may derive from ancestral tract of it being in the gene. Now, you were also diagnosed with Cowden syndrome as well, right?
That was what like led to the second breakdown I had, because I went in for the first meeting that I had with my surgical oncologist. She lays everything out for me. um there were things that I was prepared for, and there were things that I wasn't prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
So that had me thrown. But they did run a genetic test on me because of what I had told them
Mm-hmm.
about my father's side. And so they ran it on me. And then they found out that I had, it's called a P10 mutation, is what it started. That was all I could, all I knew and all I could process at the time was that it was a P10 mutation. And then they said, and I didn't even like process it until like the weekend was over, but they had said that I was susceptible to getting 5 types of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
That's 5.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Do you have any siblings?" I was like, "Yeah, my dad just did what he wanted." And so I was like, "I have a lot." And they're like, "Okay." And I just got up and left. But then, like, the whole weekend, I sat there and I was just like, because I know how genetics work because of my daughter. She has this genetic issue, so I already knew a lot about genetics. And then I started thinking to myself, I was like, I am not going to die of cancer
Yeah.
ever in my lifetime. I
Yeah.
was like, that's the truth. And I
Mm-hmm.
can go into reasons why. So I started like, and then all of a sudden, breast cancer, it became a secondary issue. So at first I was like freaking out about losing my breasts. And I was mourning the loss of, because you mourn that loss. Even though I was going to get them back, it was just a temporary thing. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So after that, after I got that genetic diagnosis, breast cancer,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it became a very secondary issue. And
Yeah.
then, we start going on into genetics. And of course, I had to go back to my siblings, and I started on my father's side, the two of them. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, this is a lot to process. And being that as though we didn't know our father, I'm sure that they had certain amounts of anger. I had a huge amount of anger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just trying to like process the fact that I wasn't going to die of cancer was it just was like, a why me? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like, when you have these traumatic situations, you do, in a lot of cases, you start to question your faith. And like, like in a very sad why me situation. But I did start to question my faith. I was like, why me? I can be very mean. Why would God grant me this chance?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's a second chance at life, as how I look at it. Because if that genetic diagnosis wouldn't have been found, I most likely would have died in early death due to some kind of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot to take in. And
Right.
there's
Right.
more to it. Like, after I spoke with a geneticist, we start going into like, it wasn't just those two that were eligible for further genetic testing. I mean, we're talking about literally everyone on my mom's side of the family too. We're talking about like my uncles, their kids. We're talking about my own kids, like my son.
Mm-hmm.
he's getting to the age to where, you know, we need to make sure that he has exhibited a lot of the genetic traits. So of course I start freaking out. And then of course there were the other four siblings that I hadn't talked to, that
Hmm.
I tried to get a hold of. So when you start tallying everything up, it's like 21 people are eligible for the same genetic test that I had. So I was like,
Hmm.
I had to start figuring out how to tell them, you know, like this. And when I did, I stressed the importance of it to them, but you know, that's all you can do.
Tell me a little bit about Cowden disease for those who don't know what it is. What is Cowden syndrome?
Okay, so it's a P10 mutation. So it means that and you're going to have to bear with me, but it's the suppressor of like tumors is missing, basically.
Mm.
So if you have a P10 mutation, that means that your body doesn't work to get rid of the tumor or to like control whatever lumps or bumps they find in and out of your body.
Mm.
So because I have that, that means that any point in time and I have the worst form, of course. It's called PHTN or PHTS. I can't remember. And that's what equated to Cowden syndrome. But basically mine means I can develop, they're called harmatomas. So we're talking about, cysts, we're talking about lipomas, we're talking about malignant and non-malignant tumors anywhere in and out of my body. Like since this diagnosis, I've had two breakdowns, not breakdowns, but breakouts
Mm.
of they have to be cysts.
Mhm.
And then after I found that out, I one of the cancers I'm susceptible to is melanoma. So I'm sitting there and I'm recovering from my surgery, and I looked down at my leg and I realized, I was like, this mole has popped up out of nowhere. I all of a sudden, and I realize, I'm like, it's changing shape, and I'm like, I have to get to a dermatologist like ASAP. And
Mhm.
it makes me more conscious because like last week I found a little bump underneath my eye, and I'm like,
Mhm.
what's going on? And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Now you haven't started any treatment for the cancer yet, correct?
No.
So what's the plan
I
for
mean,
that?
the mastectomy is the start of the treatment.
Okay.
So now I have to go and yeah, I have to go in and do other things.
Okay. Okay. Are you going to do chemo?
What happened was they actually did get all the cancer in my body. So I don't
Oh, good for
currently
you.
have cancer, which is great. Yeah.
Okay.
But with the type, like being as though the tumor it was almost 2 inches in diameter,
Mhm.
the biggest one, and the type, like it was aggressive. It was an
Okay.
aggressive form of cancer. Like I ended up being in both breasts, and it was on its way to one of my lymph nodes, which is a completely different situation
Mhm.
altogether. They wanted me to do chemo and radiation, and I was like, when we got to the radiation doctor, I was about up to here. We're talking about like 15 specialists at this point
Mhm.
that I have to check in with and keep up with. So I was up to the brim on things. Um, and then also there is the concern of my mental health problems, like being as though I had two breakdowns already. Um, with cancer, with chemo, there's always the chance of hallucinations. I, a close family friend recommended, she's like, look, just before you start chemo, go in and get a second opinion and bring up these concerns. With the first oncologist, I didn't do that, and I didn't think to, but when you have mental health problems, you know, you have to think about like how losing your hair, like
Yeah.
that's a as a woman, that's a pretty drastic, it's a hard, like, is it like what's going on with your breasts is hard.
Yeah.
Imagine like looking at a bald head, or
Mhm.
like when I went into the like the first oncologist office, I saw a lot of people fighting for their life.
Mm.
Honestly, like I saw really very frail people. They were bald. I mean, it's pretty serious, you know,
How did that
and you know,
affect
when you
you?
think about, huh?
Yeah. How did that affect you mentally with seeing this?
I was already freaking out. Like I had had multiple panic attacks, and you know, but you got to push through. You have to. So
Mhm.
I went there and I looked around, and I knew that the kind of chemo that they were going to prescribe me, I already knew. I knew that it was going to be aggressive. So what happened was, as I went in for chemo education, and there was a nurse or PA, she
Mhm.
came in and she starts talking to me about hair loss. And I was like, okay, I had a feeling that was coming, but I didn't want to hear it. We're talking about neuropathy. I'm a nail technician. I work with my hands. That's pretty serious.
Mhm.
But there are things like cold caps that can prevent hair loss or help it, prevent it. And then there are like, it's cold therapy when you put these things on this cold ice packs basically on your hands and your head. It's supposed to stop the blood flow of the toxic chemicals that they put into your body from ruining the follicles and your nerves. So
Okay.
I was hopeful. I was hopeful, but when I asked her about it, she's like, meh. And I was like, I start freaking out,
Oh,
because you have to have hope. And so
yeah.
and then she told me that, and the way that she made it sound was that it was very drastic at first. So she made it sound like, so for the first couple of days after chemo, there is a chance of exposure to the people around you through
Mhm.
bodily functions. So like kissing is it's there's a possibility. And it turns out that it's at a very low exposure rate. So anybody that's out there, do not freak out. But when I heard it from her, she made it sound like it was just like that, like, for example, she made it sound like if I were to kiss my boyfriend, it would be at the same exposure rate as I was gonna have, and I couldn't have that. Like I was
Yeah.
like, we need to like pump the brakes here because I need to like reframe my mind and think about a few things, or how are we gonna manage this? And
Right.
but then talking to a nurse, I found out more detailed information, and it's like I said, you have to, it's a lot. And when you're already looking at what you're looking at, and then you go in and you hear something that you're not ready for,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
it's not really good for your mental health.
When you found out, was there a point, or did it ever get to a point to where you asked the hard question of, am I going to beat this? What are my chances of beating it? And if I'm not going to beat this, how long do I have to live?
Yes. Well, first of all, I think that anybody that knows me knows that if there's anybody that can do this, it's me. My son is not even really concerned. Like I'll talk to him, and mind you, he's 17, but he's like, whatever, just let me know how you're doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was no question that I was going to beat this. Like I knew I would. It's just a matter of like how I was going to get from A to B. Do you know what
Mhm.
I mean?
Yeah.
So like as far as my body was concerned, I knew that I know what my body can do. I've like been up and down with my weight and everything. I already knew what I was going to do. It
Mhm.
was more a question of my mental health because of like the issues that I have. That's what had me having panic attacks. Um, yeah, that was all it was. Other than that, I mean, and honestly, because of my past with it, I think I knew that ultimately I would be able to even get past what I would look at with my mental health, but it's still a concern. I have kids, and
Sure.
it's hard.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to ask, where does the confidence come from when you say that you knew that you were going to beat it, but you kind of sum that up being that you have been through some serious challenges with your body prior to this, and you've overcome that, and you know what you can do and what you're capable of, um, and that's a plus. That's a really big thing. I don't know. I think that I consider myself a very strong person, and I don't know just if the shoe was on the foot that there would be a lot that I would have to on my foot if the shoe was on the other foot. I'm just thinking like, wow, I take my hat off to your confidence and your courage, and knowing that you're going to beat this because this is not a laughing or a joking matter. There's,
No.
like you said, you walked into that office and you see a lot of frail people and people who have lost their hair and a lot of people that are not going to make it. And then just to know that there are people in the family, in your circle, who have had cancer, who have lost their lives to cancer, and for you to be so confident like that, outside of just knowing what your body can do, does your faith tie into that as well? Even though you questioned
Yes.
it at that time, why me?
Oh, you know, the last week, it's just like I've realized that it's like I have a gun pointed at me basically from all ends. When you think
Mhm,
about the statistics and like chemo, and you think
mhm,
about your genetic diagnosis, and it's like, and then the mental health part of it ties in. It's like you have to rely on your faith, and when it's your time, period. And so
mhm.
with that, it draws back. Life is too short. Life is
Right.
so short, and you can't like just
Yeah.
dwell on the possibilities. You have to make the most of your
Mhm.
situation, and you have
Yeah.
to do what you can for other people. And like I
Mhm,
said, when I think about it, and like when it comes down to it, and I said, this is all it is. The only two options I have are my kids, and like forget everybody else and what
right.
how they're feeling. And I can't think about that, but what I can think about is my kids and the
Mhm,
grandchildren that I want to meet, and like how my potential death could affect my daughter. The special needs population doesn't process the death of a parent very well. They don't.
mhm.
So I had to, again, like I went to church today, and I needed some clarity. And it's funny because when I was in church, the pastor used, and I know you use this a lot, but he used the term turning pain into purpose. And
Yeah.
basically the only thing that I could get out of it was, you already know the answers. You already know it. You know what's going on inside of you. And to not let, I guess, public opinion or what the doctors even are saying to you, let that influence your decision. And, I go back to this first and foremost is my mental health, and that is a huge concern. If my mental health is not okay, none of chemo is going to work. And that is,
Mhm,
anybody will tell you that. If I'm having severe panic attacks, and at even the thought of the chances of it working are very, I mean, it'll do something, but
mhm.
what will it really do to me overall? Um, so I am thankful that now that person intervened, and I have an appointment tomorrow morning with the head of oncology research at
Mhm.
Tacoma General, which was, a blessing in itself. And we'll see what she has to say.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I do believe that overall, God's always had my back. Because, like I said, and I always said this, I've
Mhm.
always said this: I would not be this far in life without my faith.
One of the things you said that there's power in sharing your journey. When it comes to the impact on others, what do you hope that your story leaves when we air this?
Hope,
Yeah.
maybe some knowledge. I hope that when it comes to people looking at options, 100% listen to the doctors and what they have to say, but definitely take into consideration your past experiences with your health,
Hmm.
because you are your best advocate. If you are not comfortable in your internal um, body says something, starts ringing off alarms, look, there are options. They might not be the best options, but regardless, you have to do the best that you can to fight. You
Yeah.
have to. When people like, I want people to get that out of this story. I want people to like look at it and say, okay, look, you are stronger than you think you are, and don't ever think that you're not. Whatever it takes to fight for your life, do it.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Do it, because you've got a lot of things to do. And we all do. It's not just me, it's not just you. We all have a purpose in this life.
That's true. That's true. And it's just about finding it. And do you think that all that you have went through with the different ailments, the mental illness. By the way, are you taking any medication for your mental illness,
Oh
or
yeah.
are you
Oh
just taking
yeah.
it?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
I've been taking medication for, like I said, I'm very open about all of this. So nobody, I'm not even worried about who is whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I have been. And when you do that, see, that's another thing too, is that when you are on medication for mental health, like especially with being bipolar, like it can change at any point in time. So like, for example, if I'm taking a certain dosage and I get stressed out enough, my stress level will override the medication that I'm currently on. And if I'm not mentally here enough to feel it and to see it, to go to
Mhm.
my psychiatrist and say, hey, look,
Mhm.
I need I need to be updosed in here, or we need to change this, then I will never, I won't make it. And,
Mhm.
you know, like, because the stress will overwhelm me and I won't be able to handle it. So that is it really is a very important aspect to this, because you can, in case you didn't know, you have every right to go in, and it's medication management. Like you go in and you say, okay, I need to be upped here, or let's talk about this to your psychiatrist. I have a very open relationship with him. I basically go in and I say, hey, this is what's been going on. What do you think we should do here? Because this
Mhm.
is what I think. And so we make some like changes, and
Mhm.
we add things, we change things. And that's the thing, is at any point in time you can do that. But with the stress that my body will be under, I'm a little bit uneasy right now, because if I'm not here mentally, my kids are no good,
Right. That's so true.
basically.
That's so true. So, what are you doing to manage stress?
Working out, I have drastically changed my eating habits and my drinking habits, you know.
Hmm.
Again, it's talking, putting my story out there helps me, and it makes me feel better. Um, my boyfriend and I our relationship has definitely become a lot stronger and a lot closer, because you know, he's here with me and I talk to him about everything. And
Hmm.
um you know, I've started mending relationships in my family, certain ones, and
Hmm.
it's helpful, it's nice, it's good to know. So that helps me, but mainly changing my eating habits, because that does play a lot into stress, and how you like how your body feels, and working out, and
Hmm.
my
Yeah.
faith, going to church.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's good. And you're able to work still your full-time job, as you're able to go to
No.
work, still do work. Oh, okay.
No, it's like I worked with kids all my life. Well, I'll tell you, I've lost a couple of jobs because of this, but I think the most important one was I worked with kids for years, and because they are little germ factories, as we know, and
Yeah.
now my immune system has been compromised, I can't even risk that,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
And it wears on your body, because
Yeah.
yeah, it wears on your body when you do.
Right. Right. So your income is lost. Are you getting any supplemental income right now to
I have applied for,
assist you?
yeah, I have applied for, yeah, I have applied for SSI. The state offers me benefits. I am working kind of like as I can as a nail, you know, doing nails, because when something like this happens, you get like you lose your clients. Like that's just how
Hmm.
it goes, because they still need services, and they need to go like elsewhere, which I completely understand.
Yeah.
So until I can like build everything back to what it was, and
Right.
I'm rebuilding my life, you know, and like reframing
Right.
my outlook on life means rebuilding everything. So I
Hmm.
have to just, I'm still trying to figure things out right
Yeah.
now. And but I am thankful for the help, and my family is helping out a lot. You know, just doing
Yeah.
what I can do. And you know, again, by the grace of God, it is enough. It's enough. I do door dashing when I can, and
Hmm.
it's I,
Yeah.
again, God's always had my back. So I'm surviving. I'm making it, and that is the best I could ever hope for.
That's good. Where do you go from here with this second chance on life? Because I'm looking at it like a second chance. This is big. A lot of people don't get an opportunity for a second chance. We got to all pass through that door. And some people don't get a heads up before it's all over and get a chance to reevaluate their lives and say, well, I'm going to do this now? What are some of the changes that you've made, and how are you moving forward with this to maybe help someone else? Is that part of the goal?
Yeah, that is always part of the goal. I guess I never realized how much my story has like benefited people. People don't really talk about it, and that's fine. I think initially it's a little uncomfortable for people because I've had people like, "Why are you doing this?" Blah, going on, and I'm like, you never know what sharing your story like that will do for somebody else. And then, like I said,
Sure.
this person I went to middle school with just randomly reached out to me and said, "Do
Mhm.
it." And I have my IG site, and I've gotten a lot of good like feedback from there. And it just it helps, it
Mhm.
helps them, it helps me. I
Mhm.
know that when I know now that people, and it doesn't have to be cancer, but because there's a lot of chronic illness out there,
Yeah.
like it helps. It helps. And so that is, I think, when it comes to this diagnosis, that is what I want to do. I love, and breast cancer does feed into this. I've always loved being a
Mhm.
woman. Like, I've
Mhm.
always loved it. So whatever I can do to help any woman who, because I'm lucky. Like I got lucky. And I'm grateful for the
Mhm.
fact that I did have a chance at getting my breast back. Not every woman gets that. And
Yeah.
I feel like, in a sense, in honor, because in honor of those women, like it is important to share this and to share, like, you know, because of it's a sexual organ. So when you lose a sexual organ like that, it just brings up all kinds of trauma, like abuse. It brings up like daddy issues, it brings up mommy issues, and it's like
Mhm.
there is no way to deal with any of these things until you go to therapy. I've been
Mhm.
through like years of therapy, and after like going to therapy, like a lot of therapy, when
Yeah.
you after going through so much therapy, you start to realize you're like, there I have nothing to be ashamed of, I have nothing to hide.
Mhm.
And it makes you want to tell people like, look, this is the benefits of it, because not everybody does it and not everybody can handle it, but this is where you can be
Sure.
if you address your issues.
Yeah.
But that is the truth. Like it brings out like stereotypes, it brings out like double standards, it brings out everything. And it makes you angry, as it should, but you have to deal with the anger.
Yeah. I can hear that you've done your research and you've dived deep into the aspect of knowing as much as you possibly can about cancer, breast cancer, what you're going through. You've educated yourself on it, and you speak fluently and eloquently about the subject. And two things that I'm looking at is that, like you said, you've had the breast uh, surgery so that you can get the cancer out, and you didn't lose your breast, which is a major feat there. You still have a head full of hair. We all can see that. A
Yeah,
gorgeous
yeah.
head of hair.
Yeah.
You didn't lose that. You've beat other illnesses. And I think that, God is using you. And you definitely have a purpose to bring to the people a message with that purpose that will help others. And I think this will be a good avenue for that, to where you can, steer people to this episode to educate themselves on the knowledge, the information of breast cancer, some of the outcomes of it, and then what are some of the avenues that they can take to do their own research? Is there some places you'd like to point people in a direction as far as books, online material, or anything that they can use?
Um, Definitely to start with genetic testing in general. I do your research on genetic testing because there is the biggest concerns with any the Cancer Institute and everything when it comes to breast cancer is the BRCA gene. There's BRCA1 and BRCA2, but then again, also there's a numerous amount of genetic diseases and conditions out there.
I just want to stop you there. When you talk about BRCA1, BRCA2, what is that? Can you explain a little bit about that?
It's I don't know too much about it. I just know that it's a genetic gene. From what I understand, it's a gene,
Mhm.
and it's a gene that makes you more susceptible to getting breast cancer based
Okay.
on cultural history.
Okay.
Basically, is all I know about it.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And then
Okay.
definitely go to the Susan G. Komen Foundation,
Hmm.
the American Cancer Institute. You know, everyone says to stay off of Google. That information is a few years old typically. Support groups, I personally don't. You have to go and feel it out for
Yeah.
yourself, because you go in there and it's like you have to, like, for me, the type of person I am, I'm like, all right, look, just lay it out for me, ladies. I want to know what's the truth and what I'm looking at. And for
Yeah.
me, it's all about education. But when I find out what I'm looking at, I stress the people out around me. For me and my mental health, I have to really consider the worst case scenarios, because when I get up, mental health is all about what you see in front of you and how it affects your outlook on the entire situation that you're looking at.
Yeah.
So if I don't train my mind to consider the worst case scenarios, then I I won't make it.
This is really good, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this and bring some more awareness to it. Like I said, I wish we could have did it during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but any time is a good time when it's something as serious as this.
Yes.
Thank you, Clarissa. Thank you. What would you say to someone that has just been diagnosed with cancer? What would you tell them?
Stay strong. Do not freak out. Um I know somebody that is battling stage 4 colon cancer, and I talk to her. We communicate regularly, and she's also been a great support to me.
Mhm.
She they did a PET scan and there's no detection of cancer on her body. She told me that they had found like 17 polyps or 17 tumors on her liver at
Mhm.
one point, and now they're gone.
Okay.
Listen to your doctors. Again, 100% rest. Focus on your diet. Like my diet, because of the bypass, now I have to focus on like protein based diets. I drink a lot of protein shakes. Take your vitamins. Let's see, I could go down the road. Stay hopeful.
Yeah.
Focus on your relationships. Go to therapy. Somebody told me that I was lucky to get a therapist, because a doctor, you would think that somebody that has cancer needs a therapist, but not everybody gets pointed in that direction.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, just stay hopeful, because there is hope. And I don't think it's just breast cancer. I think there's hope in every cancer.
Yeah.
You can beat it, but definitely just know, and you don't even necessarily have to lose your hair.
Yeah.
it just
Yeah. Well, it's
you
obvious.
might. There's always yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
yeah,
obvious
there's
with you. You
always
still got a head full.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't started that part yet.
Oh,
But
yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
know that my grandfather, yeah, I know that when my grandfather had it, he didn't lose his hair. He had, and genetics, when it comes to treatment, that does play a huge part of it, because like, somebody told me once, you are your mother's daughter, so you have to take that into consideration and just stay hopeful. Okay. Just be like, but be smart at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Clarissa, I thank you again taking this time out. Um, I didn't know where this was going to go. I didn't know how you were going to be feeling. And I really didn't know the phase or the stage that you were in it. And I'd like to say that I'm happy again that we were able to do this, and I'm happy to see that you are in good spirits. I wish nothing but the best for you. We'll keep in touch. We follow each other,
Sure.
and I'll be able to monitor what's going on with you. Anything that I can do to be of assistance to you, I'm here for you. The Keep It Moving family is here for you as well. I want to come back in maybe 90 days or maybe even sooner. We
Yeah.
can talk off the air and figure out what's the best time to come back and do a recap, to do a part two on this, to see where you are with everything. I think it'll be good for
Yeah.
the viewers, it'll be good for the public, it'll be good for your mission and you as well. We're going to get out of here. I wish nothing but the best for you, Clarissa. And once again, thank you for this time and this opportunity.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed this, and it's definitely brought me another level of peace. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm glad that we're able to do that because that's what we do. We're here to do what we can to help people in any way that we can, from pain to purpose. That's what we do.
100%. 100%. All
All
right.
right, Clarissa. Well, you take care. We'll talk soon.
Yes, definitely. Thank
All right.
you.
You too. Bye bye now.